Well, the question remains, who will be in, who will be out, and when will we get this new cabinet? In fact, nobody knows, seemingly. Even Mondli Kungubele there does not know, and South Africans are anxiously waiting to find out who is going to help lead the country out of the current electricity crisis, for example. Now, eNCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is following all of these developments. Let's go live to him now as he continues to get reaction from civil society organizations. I guess, Aviwe, good afternoon. I guess it's only a question of when, but nobody seems to know when. The only person who will know in the Republic is the president himself, but the anxious wait continues, the speculation continues.
Well, but then we were told to wait, be on standby as journalists yesterday at the presidency. Vincent Mangwanya saying that he'll release, of course, that media advisory any day, as it's a matter of days now. We know those vacancies already. David Mabuza resigning officially from Parliament on Tuesday. We do know Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula is a permanent role now in the African National Congress as a Secretary General. Also, that much talked about Minister of Electricity in the President's. That was announced back on the 9th of February. We're in March now already, of course, with the ongoing spates of load shedding. So what do people want from the cabinet? And more importantly, what does civil society want? Does it even matter? Let's find out from Tessa Dooms, who represents Rivonia Circle. Tessa, thank you for joining us at eNCA. But let me start with that very question. What would you like? There are a number of vacancies, of course, in the cabinet itself. What would you like to see there?
Well, there are more vacancies than the ones we've been talking about in recent days. So if we remember that in August 2021, in the wake of the July riots, the president did a reshuffle that effectively left a vacancy in terms of state security minister. So we need to look at what the president is going to do about that cluster. It's been moved into his office by moving the deputy minister of state security, Zizi Kodwa, into his office. But that also means that the minister in the presidency is now tasked just from that one move, with state security, with national planning, with communications from government side, with DPME. I think the minister in the presidency has about 6 roles at this point. The configuration of presidency itself needs to be a much sharper, much clearer thing, and especially that question about state security being there. I often say to people, if Jacob Zuma had made that move, we would have spoken about it a lot more and a lot longer, and I think that there's something to be said for understanding what the president is going to do in that space. The second one, of course, is that we don't have a Minister of Public Administration. Ayanda Dlodlo last year in April took up a post at the World Bank. That's a vacancy that's still standing. I think it's Tulas Nesi who is there now as an acting minister. So who fills up that role? And then, of course, the big controversial one, which is this tokenary ministry, which is the only way I can think about it, this Minister of Electricity, which again goes into the presidency. Now, we must think again, what is this president's agenda and what is he doing when he brings a minister of electricity into the presidency? This will be a minister that won't have a lot of power because he won't have a budget. This minister will be reporting directly to the president, but reporting how and with what authority. And the minister will be contending with 2 other ministers, the Minister of Energy and the Minister of DPME, in terms of the energy space. I'm very concerned that the president is bringing in somebody who is going to get a ministerial salary but won't necessarily have ministerial powers.
I want to zoom into that very ministerial position of electricity. That is a very big one, given what we heard from Andre de Ruyter. And if it is to be believed, there is at least R1 billion that's stolen every month at the hands of the African National Congress, Andre de Ruyter says. Surely that's a mammoth task to fill, one of the big and important ones.
You see, I would be wondering if a Minister of Electricity needs to be sorting that out, or the Minister of DPME who's responsible for ESCOM. I don't think a Minister of Electricity or the President himself, who that minister would be working on the behest of, is the one that's going to be hands-on involved with capping corruption and all of that. But what it does show is that the president doesn't have confidence, and I think we've said this many times, in the cabinet ministers he already has. Even though this cabinet reshuffle, like many others, will reinforce the point that he has the prerogative to do with his cabinet as he pleases as president. And yes, we can say, well, this president is there at the behest of his party. But the point is, when a president gets sworn in, he doesn't get sworn in as the president of the party or the president there on behalf of the ANC. He gets sworn in as the president of the republic. And he has a duty to act on behalf of the republic. And when he exercises that duty in appointing ministers, One would hope that he's not doing it in a way that is completely constrained by the internal factional battles within his party or the internal dynamics and the balance of forces that we're always told about. But he's thinking about who is the best minister for this job. The one thing we've not seen, and I would even say that we haven't seen it in previous administrations, is a president who can tell us, this minister has been brought into this portfolio because they have this set of skills, they have this kind of background, and they will be able to serve in this kind of way, and I'm confident in their ability to do that. The president has another opportunity to try and do that, because the reshuffle doesn't have to only be about filling posts. It can actually be about getting the right people for the right job.
I was about to go then to that next question. What does it mean for the ordinary man on the streets, ordinary South African on the ground, this reshuffle?
Well, the reshuffle is a test of the president's political vision. And I mean, an article I write this week, I think that's where we've had too low a standard for what a president is meant to do. A president isn't just there as a political figurehead for the governing party to do with the presidency as it will. The president is there to play a political visionary role that goes into government and intersects between government and party. So what is this president's political vision? It cannot simply be Tumamina, New Dawn. What is the direction that he's going to take? Is it going to be about competence? Is it going to be about corruption? If it's going to be about corruption, there are many ministers in there that are fingered, for example, in the Zondo Commission. And chief among them, Gwede Mantashe, who's got a case to answer for at this point. But I think because of December and the kinds of political positioning that Gwede Mantashe had in December, there's very little chance that the president will remove Gwede Mantashe, even if he is fingered in corruption. So we must see if this president is going to take a direction that says, I'm going to put competence and merit and what the job that needs to be done over just political placements. And the president also has the ability, and we've seen him use this before and other presidents, to reshift how the ministries are set up. So we must see, is there a plan in that? If you can add a minister of electricity, surely you can consolidate ministries. Surely you can think strategically about what kind of ministries need to be in place in order to mete out an actual vision. Without a vision, this is just moving chess pieces on the board.
All right, thank you very much. Tessa Doomsday representing Rivonia Circle, asking what is this president's vision? Of course, that is President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to reshuffle his cabinet.
If you were just listening to that, we tend to forget there are more than one or two vacancies in the current cabinet. And I guess the main point is we wait to see if the president will streamline the cabinet as well, because there have been calls for him to do so previously. In fact, in 2018, when he assumed the presidency, he promised to streamline the cabinet, but instead he appointed more deputy ministers. Thank you very much, Aviwe Mtila. They're chatting to Tessa Dooms from the Rivonia Circle.